I don't even know where to start this trailer breakdown. I'm just literally just going to get into it. I am so excited for episode 15, the calm before. We got a lot of hints in this trailer that snow is on the way. I mean, this episode might be my all-time favorite episode of The Walking Dead. There's a very, very, very good chance of this. Just for context, Negan's introduction in the season 6 finale could have been my favorite episode of The Walking Dead to date. The feelings I felt throughout that episode, if there was no cliffhanger, Negan's introduction was fine. I loved Jeffrey Dean Morgan. As soon as he popped up, I was like, holy shit, do I love this character. But the cliffhanger ruined that momentum. If he actually just killed Glenn right there, if that just happened there and then we just sort of left the season off on like this, holy shit, what are our characters going to do now? It was like the morning they were all destroyed. They're just laying there. They had to pick up his body, this and that, and it just kind of cut to black. I'd be like, whoa, that would have been my favorite episode of all time. If they did that or a variation on that, that would have been my favorite episode ever of The Walking Dead. Right now, it is Rick's final episode, and this episode will have to be really good in order to beat that, but this trailer gives me that hype. There is so much to read into this. A lot of you guys who don't read the comics, watching this trailer, you're probably going to miss a lot of stuff, so that's why I'm going to break all this down. Obviously, be careful for spoilers for the Walking Dead comics, mostly issues 142 up until like issues 145, 146, which is, first of all, really crazy. I can't believe we're that far into the Walking Dead comics already. I feel like it was just yesterday when I bought issue 142 or whatever and I was reading it. So we start off this trailer with Ezekiel saying a start of a new tomorrow, and he's just very, very happy. He's very just happy that Michonne is here, because that's going to be the big shocker for everybody, is that the fact that Michonne is at this fair. Ezekiel all season has been wanting to get everybody together. He wanted Michonne at the fair. He just wanted everybody to unite and be happy for once, you know? Ever since Rick's death, or ever since, I guess, when those kids in that Michonne situation happened, Michonne has just been so distant. Alexandria has just stayed away from everyone, and next week's episode is going to be showing us a lot more of why it was so important, I guess, to tell Michonne's scar story and the significance of this fair. In the beginning of this season, Michonne wanted to create this charter, and it is the very charter that we see Ezekiel signing right here. I love how this is at the end of this season, is kind of bookending what this journey has been all season, because season 9 is a new beginning in so many ways, you know, from Rick leaving, the show having to sort of, I guess, survive without him and create this brand new story. From the war is over now and we need to think about the future, so we need to create like new beginnings for everyone. Ezekiel wanting to start all over again, saying that today is the start of a brand new day. We're gonna have an amazing future and all that, and we can see him here in the shot signing this. I don't know if Michonne's gonna sign it yet or if Oceanside and all of them are gonna sign it, but I feel like this is probably gonna be something that happens very early on in the episode. I do think they're all going to sign this charter. That's my prediction anyways. Like, they're all going to be so happy. They're all going to sign this charter. They're all going to have a good time at the fair. We're going to see so much stuff with the fair. We're probably going to see that movie that Jerry's always talking about. And then something happens later on, which we'll talk about in a second, which causes them to go out looking for the Whisperers, I think. There is a scene with that Aussie dude, which when you watch that scene, he's definitely very, very likable. Like, I do like the addition of the Highwayman. More specifically, just because of him as a character. I really like him as a character. I didn't know how to feel about the Highwayman at first, but just seeing him in that scene, which I'll break down in a video right after this, I mean, I just absolutely love that. This shot here is amazing. The fair is about to happen. I guess this is sort of the beginning of the fair. We can see Shiva up there, which we obviously saw 2 episodes, I think it was. It was something like that. I think it was episode 13, I believe. I love that she's still around and we have this reference to her, because I don't think that was ever in the comic. This shot here reminds me of issue 142's cover. I know it's very, very different, but issue 142's cover just has the fair going on, and it sort of has the same colors. Everyone's dressed differently. Everyone's just together. In this shot here, it's really weird. There are a lot of characters in this shot that are probably going to die. It's really weird. Cal, I believe, is in the back there. I don't know if you can see him, is on the right. There's a chance he could die. There's Marco. There's a very, very good chance he's probably going to die, because remember, whoever's going to die on these pikes, it needs to be a recognizable face, and it's probably going to be anywhere from like 6 to 12 of them. I don't know if they're going to go with 12 like in the comic. They could go with just like 6 of them, maybe 8 or maybe 10, but it's going to be in there. We have Diana in the very far left that you can see. She's definitely someone. Like, I do wonder if this shot here is going to say a lot, because there are at least 2 characters here in this shot that are probably going to die. The front 3 here, we can see Gabriel, Rosita, and Sadiq. I think that might be Eugene on the right there. I think that's his shoulder, but if it is, any of these 4 characters are going to die. And My prediction is it's probably going to be Rosita. I didn't want to go with that at first, but because she revealed she was pregnant in episode 9, she is the connection to Gabriel and Sadiq. She's the connection to all of them, and what happens in the comics is when Rosita dies, Sadiq and Eugene get closer because of it. And it's done very differently because obviously in the show, Gabriel is sort of taking Eugene's part a little bit. It's mixed around a bit, but it's essentially the same thing. And I still think they're going to stick with that. We have this shot here of Carol kissing Ezekiel. And like after you watch this whole thing, I know what Angela King is doing because we all know that Ezekiel dies at this moment. We're all expecting his death in next week's episode. And I with how much he's featured in this trailer, I really am under the belief that I think he's a good death. I really think they could kill him off because he's like the main focus of this trailer. It's his voice over everything. Something is happening here with Carol though, because Carol has been getting a really good story this season, but not as much. He's been kind of absent when compared to Michonne and Daryl. Daryl's been like number 1. He's been going everywhere. He's been dealing with a lot. Michonne is like number 2. Tonight's episode definitely gave us a lot of Michonne stuff. But Carol's just kind of been, around. There's nothing that's really bringing her into the story. She hasn't suffered any losses. She's just too happy. Everything's kind of good for her, So something here in this shot, there's something here with Carol's eyes, just the way Carol's looking at Ezekiel that, I don't know, something's happening here with her. Now we have this shot of Daryl and I guess a bunch of other people, and they're going out. I think they're going out to see Ozzy. Before we get into that though, there's this shot here of Henry and Ezekiel. And again, this is why I'm talking about the whole Carol thing. She hasn't really lost anybody. She's too happy. There's so much going on with that. We see this shot here of Ezekiel and Henry. One of them are going to die. I know the rumors out there. I knew them for about 3 weeks now, or I guess maybe a little bit longer than that. Not that I know if they're true or not, but people send me stuff all the time and I see stuff in the comments, but we'll see if that's true. There's definitely a possibility that it's true, though with just the way the trailer's structured, I'm really questioning it. But you never know, right? Like trailers don't tell everything. Trailers are literally meant to misdirect you all the time. This shot here of them looking at all of them leaving, this is why I'm a little worried for Ezekiel and or Henry, is that it looks like the people leaving are going to be in danger. Like that's what we're expected to believe here, that all those people leaving are going to be in danger because they're dealing with this whisperer threat. But I think it's the people within. All of the people that stayed behind while they all left, they're the ones that are going to be in danger. Because little do they know, I think Alpha's already at the fair. Like when this shot is happening here, I think Alpha's already inside the fair. Now we have this shot here. They're all riding up to Ozzy, but I'm going to save this shot for another teaser break that I'm going to do right away because they released another one. It's a full 1.5-minute scene with stuff related to Ozzy and the Whisperers and all that. So because this video is already getting a little long, I'm going to save that for that. Now notice that they're all wearing like coats. That right there tells me that's going to be snowing pretty soon. Like there's this shot here of Daryl. And it's kind of hard to notice because they cut through this very fast, but he's actually wearing gloves here and a jacket. So they're all dressed up. It's cold. It got cold out of nowhere, I guess. That blizzard is coming in episode 16 for sure. That's what this confirms. Actually, I do think if anything, there's probably going to be some snow at the very end of this episode. When they reveal the Pikes and we see whoever died, there's probably going to be some snowfall. That's what I'm expecting. I doubt that they're going to save the snow for the finale and then it's just kind of end there. Like episode 15 is going to be the big episode. We're going to see some snow. It's going to be a big cliffhanger. We're going to want to see everyone's reactions and how they deal with it in the finale. And then they'll do that then. And then the finale's job, I guess, is to close off some of the stories that were introduced this season and then set up some new stuff for season 10, which in 2 weeks, the season's going to be over and we're going to have to wait, I guess, until July, which is 4 months from now to see any new footage from season 10. But whatever, I'm going to live up these next 2 weeks. Notice how these shots are at nighttime now. That is very, very significant because they're running into the Whisperers here at nighttime. That is what I find very weird. So that means the fair must be over, unless the fair is going on for a few days. But it is nighttime. And remember when I was saying that I do think the Whisperers are at the fair? I do think the Whisperers were at the fair. And the fact that it's nighttime now, I think says a lot. Beta in this trailer says, I don't know if he's actually saying this, is just what I heard. It is really hard to tell, so if I'm wrong about this, you guys can just post down below what he actually said because the music during the trailer just completely cuts off what he says here. But from what I think, he says no one else has to die, not after what was done sort of thing. I think that's what Beta is telling him. So I think what Beta is trying to get at here is that we're even now because there's this shot of Alpha here holding a shotgun at Daryl. And I think that's what they're telling them is that we're fine now. We're even. You can just leave things be and now just go home. And you can see Daryl here. He looks at Carol like, yeah, I guess so. Let's just go. I think they're going to be wondering what she did, but I think they're like, well, I guess if we can just leave things here, fine. We'll just leave things be. I think this moment is happening way later in the episode. I really do think that this is probably going to happen about an hour in, and it's going to be related to the Pike scene. I think after this, they're all going to leave. They're going to walk up to the fair, and then I guess before they get to the fair in some open field or something, they're going to see the Pike. So during this scene here, the characters that have already died for the Pikes have already died. That's my prediction. I think that's exactly what has happened here. I think what's going to be scary is that we're going to see Alpha at the fair, and then we're going to see her here. There's going to be a weird time thing. It's going to be nighttime, and then all of a sudden Alpha's just going to be like, okay, no, we're good. Like, we're fine. We created a barrier. Just don't cross that or a border, and, you know, everything will be fine. We don't have to come across each other no more. No people are going to die anymore. And I think they're going to leave, and they're eventually just going to come across this Pike scene. That's exactly what happens in the comics, except it's mixed up a little bit differently. Carl's there. Rick goes there to get Carl. Alpha shows up and she wipes her blood off her machete, and we're all thinking, holy shit, what the hell just happened? She tells Rick essentially the same thing. Rick, Michonne, and a bunch of other things, it was Andrea as well. They all left, and they're wondering what she was talking about. They're like, wait, what were you talking about? Like, what border? Like, what is this? And then they come across this crazy ass scene. So I think that's exactly what is happening here. And I don't know if you guys remember, a few weeks ago, I think it was my episode 14 trailer breakdown, or it was my episode 13 review, but I mentioned that somehow Daryl, Carol, and Michonne had to get together. If they were going to be doing this comic scene, somehow they all had to get together. And look what we're getting here. They're all together. So yeah, they're going to be present for this Pike scene. It's going to be crazy. We're going to get all their reactions, but I'm going to leave it here. Post your thoughts down below on tonight's episode. Also, your predictions for next week's episode. Get super hyped. I mean, we're finally at this moment. The Whisperer Pikes are about to happen. What are your predictions for that? I'll do an updated predictions list just because I know which characters are where now. I'll do that at some point this week, but hope you guys all enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.